All right, so we're ready to move on to our next sort of big project in the bus, and that is building the kids' room back here in the back of the bus. And so the first thing that we need to do is install the wall right here, kind of like we have over on this side. We already have that one in. But this side we still need to install. It's the other side of the wall that creates the pocket for our pocket door. So our door is going to be getting all covered up. So we had already made a template for this wall for the curve, just like we did with all the other ones. So we already had that kind of drawn out on a big sheet of plywood. So all we had to do was cut that out, and then we notched out a hole at the top so that we can access the pocket door hardware if we ever need to pull this door out. And then we cut out a hole at the bottom so that our heater hose can just go straight through both sides and into the bathroom. And just we notch out a little area for the wires to feed through down there so they don't get bound up. And I think that's it. So we already cut all of that. We're ready to bring that in and install that wall. And that'll be the first step in building our kids' room. All right, so we got that wall done for the kids' room. It's all up and secure, ready to go. And now the next part is building a wall here in the back, and just kind of like our front upper cabinets around like the driver's area and around our mini split up in the front. That was really challenging, and we were kind of dreading that whole project. We're kind of in the same boat a little bit, maybe not as bad, but we feel about the same about doing this because, again, basically our idea is that we're going to have a wall that comes up from here straight up into this curve, and it's going to frame around our little air conditioner here. And then we're going to try and build in some little niches for like bookshelves for the kids and things like that. So there's a few things that are kind of tricky. One obviously is the curve here and getting an angle, and we don't really have a good point of reference for what exactly is perfectly vertical here. So we're just gonna have to do our best there. And then when we get over here into this corner, again, now we're not just dealing with the curve this way, but we're dealing with the curve around the corner. So we have some sort of compound curves, and we want to make this just one big piece that just slides into place. So how are we gonna mount this? How are we gonna like make some brackets maybe that kind of hang down that we secure it to? Making templates for all of this. Probably do similar things to the way we did it in the front cabinets. And then the other thing is with the niches have to be removable because we need access to our mounting points for our air conditioner, so that if we ever need to pull the air conditioner out, we have access to these screws. And so when we built this and installed this in here, that was sort of our plan, is that we would sort of have these removable niches that would create a big window for us to then reach in, unscrew things, and then we could just slide the whole thing out if we ever need to replace this. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just kind of making plans, figuring this out. And okay, so we used our square and we sort of figured out where's the furthest we can go into the corner where this is vertical to the top of our square here. So that's 24 inches. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use another ruler, and every inch, well, first of all, we're gonna take a measurement down here at the bottom. So that's 4.5 inches. And then we're gonna just, every inch, we're gonna take a measurement. And now we have a piece of wood that this is like the tallest the wall is going to be, and it's pretty straight all the way from here and then kind of over to the same place on the other side. So now what we need to do is kind of work off of where we measured going sideways. Now we need to get this curve right here, and then from there we should be able to go straight across. and then do the same thing kind of going backwards then on the other side. All right, so now that we have all of our numbers that we took inside on both sides, we're gonna transfer it to a piece of 1/4-inch plywood to use as a template. Normally we like using cardboard for templates, but we didn't have a piece of cardboard this big, and since we are in the middle of the stay-at-home quarantine time in our lives right now, we are trying to avoid going to the store at all costs. So this is take one with the curves and a cutout for the air conditioner, and we'll see if we can even get this in there. We're not sure. Hopefully we can get it in there and we can see how close we are and how much adjustment we need to make. All right, let's see.
Trying to keep it a little bit of an angle.
Okay, you got to come down on the left. Oh man, we're close.
Right there.
Okay. Well.
Okay, it's done.
Looks great. Let's just leave it.
We'll get a couple L brackets for here.
Our template works, it fits well, and we left, enough room around the air conditioner that, once we build our niches in where we can like reach back and unscrew it, we would be able to pull that out if we ever needed to replace it or whatever, if we need to do any work. So the next step is going to be transferring this onto our real piece of wood, which is 3/4 of an inch thick instead of just the 1/4 inch. To figure out is like, where do we want outlets in this back wall? We know we need an outlet behind the wall for the air conditioner to plug into, but we also want outlets in the wall for if we have a sound machine in here for the kids, or for the kids if they need to plug something in back here. We probably don't need a lot of 120 plugs, but it's always best to just get them done now just in case. They'll probably use more USB plugs, but we do want a few 120 plugs back here. So what our thought is that we're going to build these kind of inset bookshelves in here that will be removable. So we think what we're going to do is we're going to build the outlets into the tops of these little built-in bookshelves. So we made some templates just out of craft paper to see if we like this size, if that looks right to us. And then what we're going to do is this is actually going to be two. We'll put a shelf in the middle, so we have actually two places to put things on each side. But this helps us determine if we put an outlet on the top one of each of these, then we know where to run the wire to. That was kind of the whole point of doing this at this step, this part of the process, is so that we could run the wiring up and know how long we need to cut the wire. All right, so we cut our cubby holes, our bookshelf holes, into our template wood, and to give us a good idea of, you know, whoops, and I gotta hold this up. Can we get in here to get into all of our screws, to our little brackets that hold our air conditioner in? And yeah, we've got, if this whole thing is removable, like we plan, then we've got plenty of room to kind of reach in here, unscrew this, maneuver this out. All right, so now it is time to start building our little inset shelves. So we just kind of, just like we always do, we just kind of sketch it out on paper. And so really it's like it's going to be divided into two parts. And so the bottom part is deeper than the top part. So we're kind of have L-shaped sides, and we took all of our measurements for all of our different pieces. That center shelf is going to slide in. And so we're just going to start cutting all of our parts and pieces. Dominic's going to help us, and we're going to start getting these little inset cubbies built in. Pieces cut, all the different the sides and tops and the bottoms and shelves, and got all of our pieces cut. And so next we just have to drill some pocket holes in some of the pieces, and then I think I'm going to take these pieces home and paint them because this whole bookshelf is going to be white. So I'm going to take these home and paint them during this week while we're at home and not here at the property, and then we'll bring them back when we're here next weekend and start assembling all of this and putting it all together. All right, so it's the next weekend. We took this stuff home, painted it all, and now we're getting ready to assemble all the pieces. And so we're just pocket screwing them together, and we're just gonna go one corner at a time. And one thing we've learned, we've done obviously a lot of pocket screws, is that it's really important to get everything perfectly aligned exactly the way you want it before you go driving the screws in, because it will, if you're just kind of holding them together, it wants to like slip like a 1/16 of an inch. And it may not seem like much, but when you're trying to get things square, that makes a huge difference. So just make sure you clamp everything up really well. So we've got our corner clamps, and we're gonna start assembling all the different parts and pieces. This little cubby is built, so you can see sort of from the side, the top part is shallow and the bottom part is deeper because of the curve of the back of the bus. But we still have a little bit of space up here. So kind of our thoughts is this is going to be the kids' stuff, their books, or books that they're actively currently reading. We might have like a little sound machine in their room, like that could probably sit up here. And just like smaller things for them to have a place for their stuff that they want, like by their bed and things like that. And then they'll have a plug in there. They're also gonna have other plugs by their bed, like USBs, but we'll get to that later. But we got this one built. We're just gonna replicate the process. All right, so our next step is figuring out how we're actually mounting the big wall in here. And also part of that is supporting the cubbies in here. So what we're doing is we're doing 2x4s in here that we kind of shaped to fit, and those are going to do double duty as both a support for the cubbies as well as we're going to pocket hole into the wall from the back, like in, so that, well, these 2x4s are going to be screwed into this bottom floor here, and then they're going to be screwed into this wall. So that will be the first part of supporting the wall. We're also going to have similar little small pieces that are in the back corners on the floor, all the way back in the back. So that will support kind of this back part. Again, they'll just be screwed down in and then screwed into the front. And then for the ceiling, we have some little 3/4 inch pieces that are going to go back up inside, and they're going to attach to this little lip here, which is metal. So they're going to screw up into there and then screw into the back of the top of the wall. So we have a few of those going across, and hopefully that will be enough to really support this wall. It's 3/4 inch, so it's pretty solid. So we slid the wall into place, and now you can see like that brace back there is on the shelf. We just need to screw it down. The brace up there just needs to be screwed up into the ceiling. And then we've got one up in the middle and two on the other side over here. Got that one back there, and then one up in the middle. And then we're gonna have the four supports down here are also gonna be screwed in, holding the bottom part in. 2 in there and 2 over there. So we're gonna get everything screwed in and then start working on getting the cubbies secured in there.
Can you push it in?
Yeah.
It's already pushing.
I'm pushing in as far as I can go. Alright, so we're almost done. We're in the tail end of this project, and also FYI, if the audio sounds a little different, we're trying a new mic with our camera, so we'll see how that goes. But the last thing is to add a frame. So the frame is for a couple reasons, obviously just to make it decorative, so I can sort of show you. We just basically built a picture frame, and that is going to be pocket screwed into the cabinet or into the cubbies, and then the framework is actually what is going to hold the whole entire unit onto the wall. So this whole thing will just slide in, sit on those supports that we made, and then we will put 4 screws, 1 in each corner, through the framework, and that is then going to allow us to make this whole thing removable. We can just pop the screws out, slide out the whole entire box. All right, so we've slid one of them into place. It's not secured in there yet. It's just kind of slid in. But what I wanted to show you is from the back, what you can see. I got to vacuum off the top of that air conditioner. But so you can see sort of why we had to make it sort of the stair step with the curve on the roof, like, or the curve on the back of the bus like that. But the other thing is there's still a significant amount of open space back around the back and around on the other side of that cubby to allow for the air intake for the air conditioner. Those come in the sides like this. So just like that on the other side. So there's still a good amount of space back there where there should be plenty of airflow to get in for the air conditioner. All right, so we finished up our back wall. One change we made was instead of attaching our slide-in cubbies with screws through the frame, which neither of us ever really liked, but we couldn't figure out another way to do it, we kind of dawned on us, oh yeah, we have those supports underneath that are anchored into the floor under that, and so we can just put some big old screws through the bottom of the cubby into those supports, those 2x4s, and if we put, you know, they're size 14 screws, and putting them far to the back makes these really stable. These are not going anywhere. So that's all we had to do, and those will get covered up by books, and then we don't have anything around the frame. I don't know why we didn't think about that first, but sometimes we're tired. So this is all done. It's ready to go. The kids are super excited. Emmett already ran in here and tried out his books on the shelf to make sure they fit. He was super excited about it. And then one last little thing we did is we installed our thermostat for our diesel heater up on this wall, and we put our first little decorative thing in the bus. We pull a frame around it because my plan with the kids is to make like a little miniature gallery wall up here. So there'll be lots of other like little small framed things up in here. And we just thought it would be fun to kind of make that blend in by putting a little frame around it. So we're going to call this back wall done. Electrical's in, everything's ready to go, and we're going to move on to the rest of the bedroom.